is Caitlin, and today we are making a plethora of 1830s pelerines. Alright, so our first pelerine is going to be a very long one. This pattern comes from the Workwoman's Guide, and I just essentially blew it up on the computer and printed it out. Makes my life really easy. So we're going to cut it out. I'm hoping to have enough for... I did have to cut it off a little bit, so it wasn't, my fabric wasn't quite long enough, so I cut off a piece that was like this wide. So it's about the same size it's supposed to be, so hopefully it'll still look fine. I also cut a little bit off here to make it a little bit narrower. So other than that, it's pretty much the same as it was. I'm going to try to make some ruffles out of this same fabric to make it look like an original. And hopefully that works, because yeah, I don't know if I can get the same fabric anymore. So we're going to try really hard to squeeze some ruffles out of this. It may be small, like they may be very small ruffles, but we are going to try our best. So I'm going to start by cutting this pattern out. I'm going to need 2 sets of it, and I am going to need a seam down the center back, simply because my fabric's not big enough to do this the other way. And I need about 9 yards of ruffle. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I don't think I'm going to get it. It may not be a very narrow ruffle. But let's see. I'm going to try to cut the ruffles 2.5 inches and maybe get a finished width of maybe get a finished width of about 2 inches. That's hopeful. And I think I'm going to cut all the pelerines out at the same time, and then we can discuss sewing them. I think that's going to be easier for me, just to have all of them work with all the fabric at once and not have to worry about that anymore. Okay, so I managed to get 8.5 yards of 2.5 inch ruffles. So yay! The first step was going to be seaming all these together to make one really long ruffle. I was going for 9 yards because it takes 6 yards to go all the way around the actual pelerine. I measured, and I wanted it at around 1.25 to 1.5, you know, the size of that, so you actually get a ruffle. So this is actually going to be really good. Kind of exactly what I needed. So perfect. I'm going to set all this aside. By the way, this is all we have left. And I actually seriously considered seaming some of this together and piecing it. So we don't do that. We're going to work with just this. I'm going to set all this aside, and we will cut out another pelerine. Alright, second pelerine, also from the Workwoman's Guide. It's figure 11. All pelerines that we're working from today are from the Workwoman's Guide, so yeah. This is one that has a ruffle to it, so I actually cut the ruffle off the pattern right now, but that's what it kind of looks like. And so it kind of varies in width. I think I'm going to keep mine all the same width all the way around. So I decided to go for the middle ground from here to here. Middle ground's around 5.5 inches-ish, so I'm going to cut it 6 inches. And then, yeah, this is the actual pelerine part. So we're going to need about 3 yards of ruffle for this one. We're also going to do basically the same thing for the next one. We're going to do this part in Swiss dot, and we'll still do this part in the voile. Alright, this next one's also from the Workwoman's Guide. It is essentially the pelerine that y'all haven't seen yet because the video has not come out, but I made an 1850 and 1830 silk dress, and it has a double pelerine, and this is the second part to it. So that's what we're going to use for this pattern. I am going to change it a bit. I think I'm going to kind of make it come out a little bit more, not make it quite so in, I suppose. I'm cutting this one out of Swiss dot, dotted Swiss. And cutting a little bit larger as well. And so that's going to get a ruffle of plain voile. So I already have that cut out. And so we can go ahead and start, I guess, hemming up some of this voile and making some pelerines. I'm going to sew these pieces together that are going to make the ruffle, and then we're going to hem them, which essentially is just going to be folding it under about 1/4 of an inch and then doing a very narrow hem that way. So yeah, these shouldn't be too bad. It's just really simple, easy hand sewing, and it's fairly mindless, so they should get done pretty quickly and they'll look really nice. So I got the pieces steamed together and I'm working on hemming. So I'm doing a narrow hem. What I did is I ironed the edge over 1/4 of an inch, and I'm just with my fingers kind of pressing that halfway over so I get an 1/8 of an inch hem and just making a running stitch to kind of attach it. So super easy. That's what I did for the lawn ones. For the basket weave one, I started with an 1/8 inch turnover and made like a 1/16 inch hem because I really, it's a really small ruffle, and so I was hoping for, get squeeze every last little millimeter from that. So that's what we're doing now, almost to the end of this one. I think the next step is going to be putting gathering threads up on the top of these ruffles. Actually, what I probably will do will hem the edges first, or the ends. That's probably going to be the best bet next. And then we will go back and do the gathering threads. Alright, here's our ruffle. I'm putting in a gathering thread, I suppose, so that we can fit this to the actual pelerine. And I'm just kind of guesstimating the seam allowance. I haven't actually measured it at all. After this, we get to attach it to the actual pelerine bodies, finish those edges up, and be done. So these are quick, easy projects. At least, this kind. Eventually we're going to get to some hand embroidered ones, and those are going to take some time, but as far as the ruffled ones, they don't take a whole lot of time. So here's one of the pelerines and a ruffle, and I'm just attaching it. Now that we have our gathering thread in place, just mark the center off here to make it easier to gather. I have some issues trying to decide how exactly to finish off these edges because I can't find any originals for sale, so I don't have any good pictures of the insides of these things. But one that I can see the inside, the edges are clearly finished, like they're not left raw like this. And it's not, so like when I turn this over like this, it's the gathery bit, and clearly it's not just turned under, because it's a very smooth edge. And the only way I can figure out that they could have done that is to put a piece of binding over this, which seems counterproductive because that's a lot of weight added, but that's the only way I can figure this being done. So that's what I'm going to do until I get information that says differently. There's a couple of original silk pelerines for sale right now, but that's not particularly helpful for me right now. But they are, all those edges are finished. So in a way it kind of was saying that these edges do need to be finished, unlike, the insides of dresses, which don't necessarily need to be finished. And for the Swiss dot pelerine. I did have to straighten out this edge instead of making it so rounded because the ruffle did not look good on the rounded edges. So that's just one little change I had to make. But other than that, the patterns themselves are working really well. So far, the most difficult part about all this has just been getting the gathers fairly even, which isn't necessarily difficult. It's just a little time consuming and tedious. So here's the binding I cut. This is just 1 inch wide of the same voile, and it's cut on the bias. So I wanted it to stretch over these corners and such. Whatever the originals were doing, it's a very narrow seam, so I didn't want to go any wider than 1 inch, which will give me about 1/4 of an inch little seam there, which still seems to me like it's going to be a little larger than the originals. But for a first try, trying to get this technique down, I think it's acceptable. But some of those seams seem a little bit larger, so it's not like out of the range of possibilities. So to attach this, I'm just going to use a running stitch. So when it's done, I'll sit like this, and I can fold this under. Oops. And stitch it down right there, so it'll be a nice clean edge. Now in the front you'll just see a little seam, so I'll try to make that as small as I possibly can. I think that's less than 1/2 inch. I'll accept that. I do need to be watching to make sure all of this is getting cut in, because I'm going to have to go back and do that part real quick. And essentially all 3 pelerines are made exactly the same. It's just with different fabrics and slightly different sizes and shapes. At least this go around. Eventually we're going to make some different ones. But ruffles seemed easy, and I thought let's start off with something easy since this is new to me. And quite frankly, I'm not the biggest fan of hand embroidery. I can do it. I used to be actually really good at hand embroidery. It's a skill that I've let slide, and I need to pick it back up. The sad thing is I'm pretty sure I could do better embroidery at the age of 10 than I can now. So yeah, I do have some samplers from when I was 10 that actually are really good, and I just have kind of lost it. Probably because I haven't practiced in a long time. But if we start with like a really simple embroidered pelerine, we can work our way up to having the really nice ones. But those are going to need to be in organdy, because the ones I have seen that are original are super sheer. Just over here, but doing the same thing on the Swiss dot one. And I think after this we're going to do this one and the voile one. I'll just finish them up before I start the next one. I think. I haven't quite decided on that. Because the basket weave one is a lot. It's a lot. It's because it's so long, it's basically like 2 of these pelerines. So I think I'm going to finish this and feel somewhat accomplished before I take on that last one. Alright, with this one done, I think I can iron all this down so I can get this nice little bias tape pinned down, and we'll just stitch it across to secure it. And after that, it's just finishing off these necklines here and all these raw edges, and these pelerines will be done. Alright, I'm working on the voile and Swiss dot pelerines. Basically just stitching with the running stitch to attach this binding that we did. And honestly, it doesn't add as much bulk as I thought it would. I thought this part would be very bulky. Because the fabric is so fine and thin, it really isn't. Now that that's done, we get to turn this in and stitch up the hem, or at least the sides. Alright, I am pinning on the final quarter of this ruffle. Nearly done with it. Very excited to be done with it. And then after it's all pinned on, of course going back and putting the little bias bit over top. And then once this gets stitched on, we get to just fold this over, do just like we did the last time. Finish off this edge. I'm going to go ahead and order all the supplies for the next set of pelerines. That way whenever I choose to do them, I have the things for it. It's going to require quite a bit of lace and edging for the next ones. Same as before, we're just tacking on that bias on the other side so it doesn't flip itself up, so that all of our raw edges stay nice and hidden. Still not entirely happy with how big this ended up being. I think it needs to be more like half the size, like 1/4 of an inch. But I just could not get it to kind of all roll itself up like that. So that's something to work on for next time. Alright, so I got dressed and we're ready to try on some pelerines. This is the dress y'all haven't seen yet. The video comes out next month, I believe, but I thought I'd give you a sneak peek today. So this is the silk 1830s dress, and I'm going to apologize in advance because I don't have anyone to close up back closing bodices for me. So sorry about that. It's just going to be fitting kind of funny, but let's go ahead and try on some pelerines. Try the plain one first. Guess this is the right way. Oh, Richie. Well, giant sleeves. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, let me pin this. Oh my goodness. Okay, we got this. Got it. Okay. Somewhat, kind of. Oh, poopiness. Okay. Alright. That one and this one you can push down a little bit more. There we go. Alright. I think that's cute. And I really like where the ruffle starts, where the sleeve gets really poofy. So I think that's a really good 1830s effect. Here's the back. It is a bit longer than I think it probably could have been. I probably could have left it up here and had this maybe go up to like right here. But I don't think it's bad the way it is. I think it's fine. Yeah, pelerine number 1. I think it's actually kind of cute. I don't know. I wonder if I put it underneath my belt here. Stick it somewhere in there. And that works too. Gotta stick more of that in there. That works. I think that's cute too. So a couple different ways to wear this. But pelerine number 1. Alright, ready to try a second one? I'm going to do the Swiss stop one, I think. Which is basically the same pelerine. Oh gosh, caught up in my hair. Which, by the way, I think my 1830s hair looks really good today. I think this is what I'm going to do from now on for 1830s hair, at least for day wear stuff, because I'm seeing a lot in portraits and such, when they have higher necked gowns, a lot more braids than the like Apollo knots that seem to be a little bit more for evening, although you do occasionally see them for like day wear stuff. So I think like when I wear pelerines and that sort of thing, I think this is a really good option. Most Most of what you see, by the way, is not attached to my head. It's fake hair. I may have hair, but I don't have enough. Okay. Sleep sometimes makes this a little difficult. Okay. I'm going to pin this. Oh, sorry. Stepped on a puppy dog. I'm sorry. I can also probably close this with a brooch. I just don't have any period 1830s brooches yet. But, okay. So this one is open in the front a little bit more. But yeah, I think that's really cute too. It's feeling kind of funny on the sleeves and I can't like fix it. But okay, that's interesting. I think I like the other style a little bit better, but I kind of like how this is open in the front. I just like how the sleeves fit better on the other one. But here is the back. I think it's not quite pulled all the way where it should be, but you know, troubles of getting dressed by yourself. So that is pelerine number 2. I definitely like the first one best, but this one's not bad. I do like it. And final pelerine, the really long one, which I think is going to need to get put underneath the belt. But, let's see if we can figure this out. I think it can go either way, honestly, but, okay. Sleeves. Sleeves are so much fun. I'm going to try this one with the brooch. Reach this to kind of pull it. Okay, so there's that. I really do like the long pelerine look. Let's stuff this into the belt, which I think is where it belongs. Okay, there's one pelerine bit. Let me pull this one back a little bit. Okay, here's the second one shoved in there. Maybe. Can't get my hand on it. Okay. I guess this kind of will ignore this. And there's that pelerine. I really like this pelerine. I think I'm going to have to make more of these. Because I really do like the very long pelerine that like gets in the belt and with the little lapels, little pets, or whatever these things are called. Yeah, and I think it works really well for not having a lot of fabric and kind of struggling to get the ruffles out. I think it turned out really well. And I actually don't mind the smaller ruffles. Like I thought I would really like not like them. I kind of wanted them like an inch or so larger, but really, I like it. And it's good to know I can get a long pelerine like this out of a yard and a half of fabric. Like that's good to know. So here's the back of it. There we are. So yeah, 3 little pelerines. That was a really fun little project. It didn't take very long at all, actually. It's been a while since I made them because I was trying to get this dress done so I could like film the ending part. But overall, I'm very happy with them. This is my favorite by far. I really like this one, and I think I'm gonna make more just like this. I have plans for one that's gonna be organdy, but I'm just gonna do hand embroidery over it, which I think will be very pretty. And maybe a couple more that are kind of like this. So yeah, looking forward to that. I'm going to have more pelerine videos because 3 is just not enough. So be looking forward to those. But I figure we kind of just like group them, do 3 at a time, and I think 2 more videos, and I think I should be done for a while. 9 is plenty, or at least it should be plenty. But I think now I actually have a pretty good 1830s wardrobe at this point. I have 2 different dresses, self-fabric pelerines for both of them, but I have 3 white pelerines, plenty of belting fabric. I have, I think, my hair down to where I need it to be for day wear. 2 bonnets, shawls galore. So I am very pleased with having everything together now. I can start looking for events, which of course are kind of still shut down, but as things start getting warmer, perhaps we'll be able to do more things outside and that sort of thing. And now I can actually start looking for events because I have something to wear to them. So very pleased that we got this project done. I think it looks absolutely adorable, particularly this one. But thank you so much for joining me on this little pelerine adventure, and I will see you in the next video.